Okay, so we're going to take a look at creating a KPI dashboard today. It's nice and simple. We're not going to be doing anything too fancy. We're going to be using a Google spreadsheet and Data Studio or Looker Studio, whatever it is you want to call it, to just create some nice, easy to read graphs and tables. Using ideally something that we've probably already got in place in terms of a spreadsheet to track leads. If you're here already, you know what KPIs are. You don't need me to explain what that means and how they work. You know what you're looking for. So the first thing that we're going to do is just maybe manage your data a little bit. So if you've got a spreadsheet with loads of leads in or inquiries and how they progress and turn into customers and all that sort of stuff and what they spend, just make sure that as normal that everything's formatted. You know, your dates are dates, the values are the right sort of are actual numbers or are currency, and everything else is just formatted in the correct way. And as long as you've got these headers and you've got these the information in the right place, that's all you really need to do. Just make sure that your team and you are managing it and using it correctly. And then what I'll do usually is just create a separate tab where I just filter through all the information from this one, just in case I do want to do anything in here, such as just run some calculations within this spreadsheet before I import it. Now you can do all of these sorts of calculations within Looker Studio itself, but it's good practice just in case you do want to add any things on the end and you don't want to add them to your inquiry sheet and you don't want to mess around all the time with the information on there, and you don't want to see this. It gives you that flexibility to do that. So once you've done that, you want to come to Looker Studio. What you'll probably come to is something which looks like this, and you can use any of these templates in here. Just pick one and jump in, or you can just create a new report and you'll come through to a completely blank page. Now for today I'm going to show you one that I made it earlier just because it's a little bit quicker and easier, and I don't want to be spending you watching me for ages create tables and change colours and stuff like that, because nobody cares. You're just here to find out how to get the information in and view it so you can make some quick decisions in your business. So what you're going to be confronted with is a page which looks like this, and you can choose where the data source is coming from. As I've said, today we're going to use Google Sheets, but you can use Google Analytics, ads, all these different things that you've got, so you might find them useful to play around with, but we're not going to do that today. When you have chosen Google Sheets, you will come through to a page which looks like this, and under spreadsheets you just want to find your spreadsheet, and then it's going to come up with the worksheets in that spreadsheet. As I said, I'm using this one that's for DS report, where I filter the information through. This will say connect. Click on that. Give it a second. And it'll pull through. Right, it's going to send you to this page next where it's got all your headers in here, as you can see from across the top. And what you need to do is just go through and make sure that the format here is right. Mainly on stuff like values and stuff, it'll probably have it as numbers, so you just want to change that to currency and check your dates are right. And if anything is supposed to be a number, make sure it's a number and not a text. And if it's coming through wrong, there is probably something wrong somewhere in your spreadsheet for you to have a look through, and it'll probably be one cell in the middle of the spreadsheet somewhere which has just got something in that it shouldn't have. But you need to make sure it's right, otherwise it won't work. You can also add extra fields in, so if you click this add field up here, you know, you can do some normal stuff and just, you know, add things together if you'd like to. You can also use, you know, more of a SQL type process where you can do like case and whens and ifs and all that sort of stuff. We won't go into that today, but that'll probably be a video that we do later on, and you can take a look at how those things work. So you could say, for example, let's say we've got in here we have like status or something. We could do like case when status equals approved then 1, and then we can use that to calculate certain things, but we're not going to go into that level of detail today. We will just leave that for now and move on to actually building the report. So once you've got it connected, it will look like this in your connections tab, and we can close. You're going to come through to a blank page or a template that you've used, and we're going to start building. So just across the top we have a few different options. We'll just go through the basic ones for now. So you can add a new page in, you can add some more data in, charts where you can get all the key sort of tables, scorecards, bar charts, all that sort of stuff. There's a few more sort of community made ones here which can be really useful and do a little bit more than the basic ones, so have a look at them. We're not going to use them today, but they could really help you out. We've got some controls, so we've got like date range control, which is one of the main ones we'll use. You can have data controls. There's lots of different things that you can put in here to sort of control and change the data around. And then we've got stuff like you can add images, like we see we've got a logo in here and some text and some shapes, really to just start sort of building and making the report look nicer if you are interested in that sort of thing. So to add a chart, you just click on add chart and then whichever one you want, and then you sort of draw it like that. It doesn't really matter what size you draw it because you can just change it afterwards, and it's going to put you in said chart. Now once you've got that in, you're going to have to choose a few options. So data source at the top, if we've got one data source, fine, but lots of the times you'll have multiple data sources feeding into the same report. And we're going to want to choose a date range dimension to operate this table from. So what that means is, as you can see in the top right here, we've got select the date range. So we can choose what date range we want, and whatever date range this table is set to, or whatever date range dimension this table is set to, should I say, it will use that to change, to look for the date. So if we set this, for example, let's change this to April to, let's just do April. You'll see the information change, right? So that is based off these dates. If you've got different dates in here, like let's say this date, you could set it to that one. So whatever date you change this table to be sort of connected to, if you like, is the one that it will use when you're using selected date range. So you could have them all set to different things. You might have a table for leads, you might have a table for sales and that sort of things. There is a blend data system within Looker Studio where you can create multiple tables in one that use different dates for different things. So for example, you could have these leads set to one date, but the one value set to actually when the lead was won, so when the client was won. So when you select a date range, the leads come through from the right dates and the one values come through from the dates that you actually won, and they're separate. Again, we're not going to go into that today because it's a little bit more complicated than just setting up a basic report. However, that is a possibility for something that you can look at in the future to get a little bit more useful and specific information. The next thing you want to look at is a dimension. The easiest way to explain this is anything that's text. Anything that is text in here and not a number, we're going to put it on the left hand side, and the information is going to be divvied up like that. And we can click this drill down button here and we can have a few different ones. So you see these little arrows here. We can now swap the information, so leads and instructed and value of quotes and all that, and we can see it by a client grade, or we could swap it down again and we could see it by the status of these. So we could see that we've got 181 leads in instructed and how much one value. We could drop it down again and we could have we could view it by inquiry lead, so which team member it belongs to. Something that I don't have in here, which is obviously useful depending on what you're doing, is stuff like lead source, so what marketing strategy they came from, or geographical location, so whereabouts in the world or the country or wherever you are they might be from. Anything basically that is a text we can separate on this side, and anything that we find useful to separate that information by, you could include in there. The next thing you're going to look at is metrics, so numbers. Essentially, anything which is a number and we want to view this information by, we're just going to click add metric, and then we're going to just click on which one we want. You can add a field as well, similar to like we did before, so you can just do a formula in here and you can do specific, so you could do like the difference between the one value and the quote value, you know, one value minus quote value, and it would give you an extra field you could put into that table. From there, we're just going to jump to the style. So this is obviously very self-explanatory, and it is simply just how you want the table to look in terms of table colors and text colors, and whether we're centralizing things or whether you can choose to compact numbers, or you can choose to have them just as they are. This is very much personal preference, and it's just up to you to play around with and see what you get on. The others, again, these are just tables again, put in exactly the same way as you click add chart and then you choose which one you want. We've got a time series, so again, we're going to pick data source, we're going to pick the date range we want to use, we're going to pick what dimension we want. In this version, I've got it the same as the date range dimension because I'm actually looking at the information, as you can see here, as dates, and you can change that to be I've got it in year month because I didn't want every single day in there because it would become messy, won't be able to see it, so I'm just looking at it January, February, March, April, so on. It is set, so there's a custom default range for the date on this one. So as you notice, when I change this didn't change because I've got this default range set to this year to date. So every day when you log on, it'll be this year to the day before today, no matter what you put into here. The same, you need to put a metric in, so we got quoted and estimated fees, and below we basically just got the same thing, so like one value, so we can have a look that like in March we did 203k of quotes, but we signed 13.88k of clients. Where's the extra? Where's all the in-between gone, and what are we doing with it? It just gives you a nice visualization. We've got some pie charts in here which are done very much exactly the same as the rest. Add a chart, choose pie chart. These are all grouped together, so you'll see I actually have to click on them individually. Set the data source, set the date range dimension, set what it is, how you're viewing the information. So we've got this split up by project types, and then we're looking at leads. Now we can add some optional things in here, so if we want to add, let's say, average quote value in, and we wanted to view that, up here you've got this optional metrics, and you can click average quote instead of leads. And it's now going to show us that percentage type by average quote instead of leads. Again, you want to come into style, and you can change the colors and whether you have a single color, which I prefer, or whether you have lots of different colors, and then you can use these buttons here to choose all different colors. You can change the size of the ring, you can have it full pie or really thin, and you can also change, it's probably the most useful bit on here, you can change if you view the information by value or percentage, or however it is that you want to view that information, you can change it around. I'm not sure why that didn't bring the value up, but either way that should bring, if we just, let's do this so we can actually view it. There we go. So we can see now, instead of a percentage, we've got the actual values. If you hover over it, it'll give you both anyway. So you could hover over this and you can see that 53.2% is equated to 307 leads. And you can see here that 116 is 20.1% of the project types. But you can set that how you want in here. Like I say, you can hover over it and it'll tell you anyway, but you can set it to sort of be what you like. Down at the bottom, these are really simple, sort of, but can be really useful. These are just what we would call little scorecards, so you can just input a number basically. It will give you again the data source, the date range, and then the metric you want to view. So it doesn't like give you the dynamic to change them by. It'll just give us the total amounts of leads. We've got this currently set to last quarter, so it's always set to the last quarter. As you can see here, this one will be set to previous year, and then just below it we've got the this quarter. So you can see here, it's set to this quarter, and then we have a little comparison attached to it as well. As you can see, this +1, which is the previous period. And you notice the previous quarter says 39, this quarter says 40, and then we've got 1. But if you click on the previous period, it's literally looking at us between these two dates instead of this is looking at the whole last quarter. So we've got a comparison to the whole last quarter, so we can see how far away we are from achieving the same or improving upon the last quarter as a whole. But we can also compare to where we were this exact time last quarter to see if we're on track. And that's pretty much it for now, really. You can set some filters, so you can add filters in where you create you only want to see information if it's included. Let's say you want it to equal to whatever it is you want to put in there, and it will bring through the information that is just equal to that, or just has that attached to it. So you can have some really easy to use filters there. And then the date range at the top, just because we've used this quite a bit, you just add control, you put date range control in, you put it like that, and you just select the just give us a sec, I'm not sure why this is going so slow. Right, so you've got the style again here, which we just change all the colours and stuff for. It's nice and simple, nothing too crazy to get stuck into. And then we can also, when you're choosing the date range, you can have a look at using some of the predetermined stuff. So you could do last 7 days, 28 days, this week, last year, or you can choose really specific. I want to look at this to this, for example, and click apply, and it'll change all the information. And that is it. So with using something that you've already got set up in terms of like a spreadsheet where you're detailing your leads and how they're progressing through your system, and connecting it to this system, you can just go about your day-to-day business, updating your spreadsheet as in when something happens with one of your prospects, and you will always have a up-to-date KPI dashboard with lots of different metrics, lots of different really good to look at graphics that will show you quickly where things are going right, where things are going wrong, where might need some attention, without spending ages going through a spreadsheet, adding things up, putting some formulas together in a spreadsheet to find out how many leads we've got here and how much we've got there, and looking back on previous periods to try and compare what happened and what didn't happen. It's just all automatically updated in here for you to sit down in your management meetings and have a look at the information in real time. Any questions, as always, leave a comment and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can.